After tonight's big Nuggets game, they're going to look at the numbers, as in Denver's COVID statistics, to make sure that packing Ball Arena for the first time doesn't create a ripple in public health. She's the governor's dream, because her family was hesitant to get the vaccine, and now they have the shots and $1 million. Tucked into a library at CU Boulder are records of when the government was taking UFOs very seriously and asked a Coloradan for help. And speaking of unidentified flying objects, what in the world is this? The answer, next. Ball Arena's never had a sellout crowd. The place is called Pepsi Center the last time that fans were allowed to fill each seat. They'll do it tonight for the Nuggets playoff game. Denver's top public health expert told our Marshall Zellinger which stat line he's going to be tracking.
Tomorrow will be 15 months since this. March 12th, 2020, the last time a sellout event was allowed at then Pepsi Center, now Ball Arena. Then it was Post Malone. Tonight it's Coach Malone. The Denver Nuggets host the Phoenix Suns for Game 3 of the NBA Playoff Conference semifinals and can have 100% capacity.
Ball Arena's had thousands of people in for previous events, and we have not seen case numbers go up. We've not seen any outbreaks stemming from that. So I think we're going to be in good shape. They submitted a thoughtful mitigation plan to include face coverings and actually spent a great deal of money on increasing ventilation. So I think we're going to be all right.
I asked Bob McDonald, Executive Director of Denver's Department of Public Health and Environment, what statistic he'll look at to be sure a full capacity arena did not result in a COVID-19 outbreak.
Well, we look at positivity rate, we look at case rate, we look at hospital admissions. But again, specific to the decision about allowing increased capacity, we're going to take a look at what have we seen with the capacity that we've been at? Have we seen cases or outbreaks stemming from Ball Arena? What have we been able to find out through our contact tracing and case investigation efforts? And we have not seen anything. Cases continue to drop.
You know what else continues to drop? The number of people getting tested for COVID-19. Based on the state's dashboard, the number of tests are in a steady decline. Tests help determine positivity rate, which McDonald said would not be the only statistic to consider anyway.
For people who are vaccinated, they really have very, very little to worry about. For people who are not vaccinated, I would strongly encourage that they stay away from these types of events because they are still susceptible to getting COVID-19.
Here's why testing data may not be as reliable as it has been. McDonald said lately, people getting tested are symptomatic, which can skew positivity rates compared to late last year when people would get tested, Kyle, just out of concern.
What are they doing with the testing sites then if folks aren't so interested in testing anymore?
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Plus, with the parking perhaps needed at Pepsi Center now, but the state says that they're not doing away with the state-run sites and that they're among the highest for getting tested in the country. So we're in that window, that gray area, I guess, of you got the vaccinated people, you've got people still wanting to get tested, and we're in that fluctuation of which one's going to outweigh the other. And at some point, you're going to have to do away with the testing sites, or at least minimize where they are, maybe not take up an entire parking lot of an arena that can now sell out.
Yeah. Hopefully, Marshall, the signage is really good. Could you imagine that? I mean, you're pulling in there and it's like, no, I'm here for the Nuggets parking. Stop swabbing me. Stop swabbing me. Yeah. No, I'm sure the signage will be very, very clear. Thank you, Marshall. Enjoy your weekend. Checking in on the state's vaccination rate. We are just past 53% with some kind of protection via shot. 46.5% of Coloradans are fully protected and 6.6% of the population's waiting on that second shot. So the governor's been pretty open about his hope that some of Colorado's vaccine sweepstakes winners will be people who are hesitant to get the shot. Might convince more people. Stephanie Ward of Littleton, the state's second winner, was announced publicly today, and she said, you know what? That was her and her family. They eventually decided the benefits outweighed their fears of the vaccine. And their next decision is what to do with the rest of the $1 million after their plan to pay off their debts and fund their kids' college tuition. There will be 3 more of those $1 million winners. We have to be on alert for dangerous human behavior over the weekend because so much of Colorado is dry. Firefighters already have their work cut out for them in the foothills and in the mountains. U.S. Forest Service says 2 hotshot crews are coming in to go after the Straight Creek fire east of Dillon. About 15 acres have burned 2 miles outside of town. Because of that fire's proximity to I-70, there could be interstate closures this weekend. Closer to Denver, firefighters are finishing up their work on the roughly 30-acre Platte River fire where a power line came down yesterday. That forced evacuation south of Conifer, about 25 homes. They're feeling good now, and the evacuation center at Conifer High School closed this afternoon. The renewed interest in UFOs, government acknowledging spending time and money looking into them, it brings us back to one of the last times the U.S. government spent this kind of energy exploring the unknown. It was here in Colorado. Anusha Roy has the story.
Inside Norland Library at CU Boulder is a rare collection.
Materials that don't exist anywhere else in the world.
And one that stands out to Heather Bowden, the head of Rare and Distinctive Collections.
Pretty high up on the fascination list.
Is the Condon Report, commissioned by the U.S. Air Force in 1966.
For the purpose of providing unbiased scientific research around UFO sightings.
This is a bizarre story. We're going to start with the government asking Edward Condon for help, a prominent theoretical physicist who taught at CU Boulder. He was known for his work in quantum mechanics, nuclear science, his work developing nuclear weapons, and then his paper on UFOs.
And I haven't read the entire 1,000 pages.
The library anticipates people will be more curious now that Congress is set to receive another report on this very topic.
Really about defense.
The government wants to know if other countries have abilities and technology the U.S. is not aware of, spotted by Air Force and Navy pilots, and it's willing to spend money to find out. Condon's report was commissioned for $300,000 53 years ago. In 2007, a group of senators secured $22 million for the military to study UFOs, according to national reports. And then last year, during the pandemic, the Senate Intelligence Committee told intelligence officials to produce the unclassified report due this month. A report that appears to mirror what Condon said.
Found that there was no conclusive evidence or no conclusive connection between UFO sightings at that time and extraterrestrial life.
But others say this is just camera anomalies, weather balloons, flares, things like that. But curiosity is still the same. For Next, I'm Anusha Roy.
The files are still locked away from the public because the plan is to open Norland Library to the public come fall. Now, here's a Not How You Colorado reminder you wouldn't think anybody would need anymore. Carving your name into delicate trees seems like something people did like a generation ago before anybody knew any better. But our viewer Ginny says the issue is only getting worse lately along the Riverwalk and Estes Park. I don't know, maybe we can blame the tourists? It's certainly not how you Colorado. Each one of those cuts opens up those trees to fungi and to other threats. Kindness and empathy defined the life of Robbie Eckert, and it is the work that his parents continue after he took his own life. Your Word of Thanks microgiving campaign this week has already raised more than $25,000 to support their nonprofit, Robbie's Hope. It's a group that identifies teen ambassadors to work with their classmates with the goal of destigmatizing the anxiety and the depression that so many young people feel. Robbie's mom reached out this week. She's thrilled. She says that your gifts mean that 50,000 more of these handbooks can go out. It's a guide created by teenagers that instructs adults on how to have tough conversations with kids about mental health. And what Robbie's Hope has found over the last couple of years is that getting young people to give these books, to actually hand them over to important adults in the community like teachers and coaches, that's the way that they convince adults to really read and to act on this life-saving advice. To join me and a bunch of other Next viewers in helping out Robbie's Hope expand its impact in Colorado, text the word THANKS to 303-871-1491 and I'll send you that link to donate. At a time when mental health experts say Colorado's kids are deeply in crisis, this is a very simple thing that we can do together to help.
It's mosquito season, and whatever in the world this is. Have you seen these flying around Colorado? And a reminder about how shopping is about to change for all of us in Denver. Next.
People are going to be surprised. Don't let it be you, because July 1st, 3 weeks away, stores in Denver start charging 10 cents a bag if you do not bring your own. You'll start to see reusable bags being given out ahead of time, but you may want to stock up on some of your own now. It is a sign, bad one for the millennials of Highlands Ranch. Avocado inflation is a real thing. $68 a piece. It's the pits. Our viewer Renee saw this at the Walmart off Business Center Drive. She did a double take and decided to share with the rest of the class.
After a week of above average temperatures, sizzling in the 90s, a brief break for us today. It felt so good. 76 officially out at DIA, and there's not much going on radar tonight. Mostly clear skies, and it should be a calm and dry night for us. That cold front that rolled through last night into this morning, bringing us the cool off, now impacting the Midwest, but back behind it, another ridge of high pressure. This starts rolling in time for the weekend, and this is going to be bringing us another warm up. Unfortunately, with the hot temperatures, the lighter winds, we do have high levels of ozone out there, so just kind of keep that in mind. Folks that have any respiratory issues, you probably want to limit your time outdoors. The heat's on. 92 tomorrow afternoon with mostly sunny skies. Upper 80s, low 90s across the eastern plains. A bit more comfy in the high country in the 70s and 80s. 94 on Sunday with isolated storms tracking off to the east. And then we crank up the dial near triple-digit heat next week with the possibility of breaking some records. And also, we'll be bringing back a chance of storms.
Let's hope that people make smart decisions on a hot weekend, because fast-moving water in Colorado is a bad decision right now. You've got Clear Creek already off limits for swimming and tubing in Golden and Wheat Ridge, and the Poudre up north is running high as well. Fort Collins has closed off access to the river from North Shields to the Salyer Natural areas. Hey, it's been a while since we played What Do You Say?, our Colorado place name pronunciation game. Our viewer Guy came to us with this week's submission. It's a tiny town of 100 people in southwestern Colorado down near the Utah border. So we reached out to the San Miguel County Commissioner who represents that part of the county to ask, what do you say?
Egner. Some people call it Egnar, but we just call it Egner. Way back when, and I think this was early 1920-ish, the folks wanted to call the town Range, because it was a lot of open range, a lot of open country, but Range was already taken as a town name. So they just got clever and said, well, we'll just turn Range around, spell it backwards, and call it Egner.
That is one of the cooler backstories that we have learned through What Do You Say? Egner, Range, backwards. Tell your friends, you'll impress them. These days, Egner's home to about 100 good people, a lot of pinto beans, and sunflowers. All right, where to next? Email us your place name suggestions or get a hold of us on social media. Lately, I've been trying to convince my 3-year-old that bugs are cool and not icky. We're starting with the small ones. Maybe someday she'll grow up to be like next viewers with questions about one of the biggest bugs we've ever seen.
We've tackled hundreds of your next questions over the years. This is the first one about a bug.
Hi, news team. My name is Lindsay Olson, and I am from Centennial, Colorado. I contacted your show in hopes that maybe someone could help me figure out what this very strange-looking bug is that I found on my aspen tree the other day.
Lindsay, I saw something similar in my garden last year. I thought it was a small bird. It's wrong. Bug experts at the Denver Museum of Nature and Science know a lot better.
From the size, it looks like a Cecropia moth. This is the largest indigenous moth that we have in Colorado. It has a wingspan of 6 inches or even more sometimes. These are the adult Cecropia moths. That's how they look normally. And when the wing is not properly unfolded, then you don't see the pattern. So from that wing that this poor creature has, I can't identify anything, but the size and the dark hairy legs, the black hairy legs, that probably makes it very likely that's a Cecropia moth.
Yeah, that's what I saw with the wings out. I thought it was a hummingbird. Dr. Krell says those moths live for about 2 weeks. They pack in a lot of fun, though. They mate, then the female lays about 100 eggs. He says the moth that Lindsay found was probably wet from rain or a sprinkler and is probably going to be bird food soon. Not having temperatures in the 90s is the good news that all of us shared today. For the 252nd edition of our favorite Friday question and answer, our photojournalist Tom Cole went out to Chatfield State Park early this morning.
It's very pretty. It's very calming, the water. This was on my to-do list.
My good news is that we have my grandmother visiting and we have a great day and it's nice weather.
My good news is that I got to fly out to Buffalo, New York to visit my family for the first time since the pandemic started.
My good news is I got a new job and I'm off for 2 weeks before I start it.
Yeah, these are my little people. And one's in the water somewhere. My good news is my family is healthy. We are enjoying the sun and the beach and this beautiful weather and this beautiful view.
The good news, I got a baby coming in November. It's our first child and I'm super excited about it.
My good news is I'm a 4-year cancer survivor, pancreatic cancer.
My good news is just life is good. Everything is finally getting back to normal, and it's a wonderful time of year to go spend some time outdoors.
Very aquatic good news at Chatfield. The not a door sign, clearly on a door, that we chuckled over yesterday, more complicated than it looked. Plus your feedback next. So we shared a laugh last night over this sign at a strip mall in Aurora. This is by I-70 in Peoria. Sign says this is not a door, when anybody with eyes can tell you that's certainly a door. It's got a handle, it's got hinges, it goes from the inside to the outside. But a viewer, Luann, correctly pointed out that what we're looking at here is probably a poorly worded warning to firefighters that door's blocked on the inside. So we called a firefighter we know to learn more.
Clearly the door is still a door, but the door is no longer needed for people inside the building to get out of the building. And therefore the door would not be usable or useful for firefighters trying to get into the building. And both the door's status and the wording on the outside of the door would have been approved by the authority having jurisdiction. In our district, we would typically see wording that would say the door is blocked.
Door is blocked makes a whole lot of sense. It's not as funny to the rest of us, but it might be a little bit more clear. Hey, as long as the firefighters in Aurora know what's up, it's all good. Hat tip to South Metro Fire Rescue's Einar Jensen for helping us with that explanation, and to Luann, who made that smart connection when she saw the sign. In your feedback tonight, Urch wrote in to say, we were told to stop using canvas bags during the pandemic. Is it time to pull them out of the closet now? Yes, absolutely. If I recall correctly, that might have been like a COVID on surfaces thing very early in the pandemic, and it wasn't long before the smart folks in science figured out that contact transmission really wasn't that big of a deal. Tom says, does the new bag fee only apply to Denver or the rest of the state? Denver in July, September 1st, rest of the state. See you next time.